Everybody, welcome to Mantra House. I'm super grateful and honored to be here. It started about 3 years ago, and gradually we see that there's more people coming, a community is being built, and I'm super grateful for that. It takes a small army to make Mantra House happen. Big thank you to the people that go out into different schools and different events and recruit people to come and experience Mantra House. Big thank you to the people that come before Mantra House and set up, put the rugs. It takes a lot of labor to reorganize a house. A big thank you to the cooks who put a tremendous amount of effort in the kitchen, like a 6-hour labor of love. 3 hours for groceries easy, and then just being in the kitchen in the peak of summer. It's a lot of work, and I'm very thankful for Atoya, Bhakta, and Cody for putting in a lot of work. For Gora Avatar at the door, receptionist staying outside while everybody's inside. It's a little sacrifice that's being made. And then thank you for people who stay after the Mantra House and help pack up, help put everything back together, sweep. It's a joyous experience. It's like a house party. And so a big thank you to you guys for taking time out of your day and coming some week after week, some year after year. And I'm super grateful for that. And so the reason why I decided to speak today, it's not because I consider myself a good speaker. In fact, I feel like I suck. When I review my videos again, I'm like, dude, I don't even want to watch it. It's funny to see yourself speak. And it's not because it's my last day as a 26-year-old. It's not because of that. It's because it felt like it was my Dharma to come and speak today. I don't know why. I felt like if I did, I was debating in my mind. I was like, should we have somebody else speak? But I felt like if I didn't do it, I would have stayed in my comfort zone, and I would have felt like more confined to my own confinement of comfort. And so I just felt that it was my Dharma. But first of all, what is Dharma? It's a very important question to ask for those inquisitive on the spiritual path. Very important question. And so the ancient texts explain that Dharma can be defined as a law or principle that governs the universe. And for an individual to live out their Dharma within their path of life, it is said that the individual acts in accordance to that particular law that is set out by the universe, and that is Dharma. There's also another definition that can be said of Dharma. Dharmas are intrinsic nature, not only as human beings, but as a whole species, varying from animals to plants to micro to the human being to beings in higher dimensions. They're all infused in this whole aspect of Dharma. And so Dharma is a very vast subject. And it can take hours going to different seminars and explaining, dissecting Dharma. But today I want to explain Dharma through stories. I'll start off with one particular story that really resonated with me, the aspect of Dharma. It's a very practical story. First, let me annihilate the cotton mouth before it gets worse. So this story, it took place in my home country because I wasn't born in LA. I was raised in LA since I was 7. But the country that I took birth was El Salvador. Or for those that speak Spanish, El Salvador. And so yeah, it took place at that particular place in the world where I was born. And I was about 5 years old. I was obviously living with my parents. And in my parents' house, it used to separate itself from the main house. And next to it was a little room. And that's where my grandpa stayed. And in between that little room and the house, there was a small patio. And for some reason, my parents would store about 500 stacks of old newspapers there. And so when I was younger, I would always see these newspapers. I would always just see them laying there. And I had this thing as a child that I just loved to play with fire. It was something that I just could have been dangerous, but I just loved like sparking up a lighter, playing with fireworks, burning things. Rather than burning incense, I was burning insects, which is a whole nother story. But anyways, on one particular day, I decided that I wanted to burn some of that newspaper. And so I went into the stove, I got a piece of wood, I turned on the stove and I lit it with the flame. And then I would go back to the newspapers and I would begin to draw lines. And it would leave like a black smear, or it would start burning a little bit and then it would turn off, and I would keep doing that back and forth. I did that for about 3 days on separate occasions. And then one day my mom found out, and damn did I get a beating. She scolded me, she spanked me, and worst of all, she was threatening me that she was going to tell my dad. And my dad was a strict fellow. Like, I knew I was going to get whooped. And so I was scared. But looking back now, I realized that was their dharma as parents, where they want to guide the child, they want to show love through guidance. They want to mold the child's character to be a moral being for its whole life. And so I see that now. And in one other occasion, I also saw that dharma manifest in a different way. So maybe 3 months later, within that same time frame when I was 5 years old, my dad just so happened to leave a gasoline container in the backyard. And I saw that gasoline container. It wasn't fully full, but there was some gasoline in there. The smell captivated me. And so I knew that that thing was flammable. So what I started to do is that I opened the top and I started pouring the gasoline on the cement floor, creating like a pathway, a road, leading up to this giant cement tub-looking thing. In Spanish, it's called pila, and that's where they wash their clothes. It's full of water, and so on the cement floor, it had curves and churns, but I led it up to this giant cement tank of water, and I poured gasoline on the water, and I was fascinated with the swirls, the separation of colors between the gasoline and the water. And I was this close to getting a match and just seeing the whole pathway light up into fire. But I remember my dad's beating. And so immediately I was like, nah, I can't do this. As a 5-year-old. And so it reminded me of my parents' dharma, the way they embedded knowledge into the child because it was intrinsic to them that they wanted something better for the child. Another practical example can be seen when somebody drops money out of their pocket and you yourself see that. For the most part, I feel a lot of us here, our first innate thing to do is go into that person and tap their shoulder and point out the money. And you do this because it feels good. It feels good to do good unto others. Of course, somebody would do the opposite and take the money. But I feel like a lot of people, because I've seen it with my own eyes, somebody drops money and they immediately look for that person and they let them know. We get a high off of doing good for others. It's like this innate nature that we have. It's like it's invisible, but we could feel it. This particular dharma. In the opposite end, there's also something called adharma, which goes contrary to dharma. And that can be manifested from what I've seen in the wars that we see in the modern world. Wars sparked for profit, greed, going to somebody else's territory and terrorizing the citizens and plundering their natural resources and taking them back to their country. We can see that this is a necessary war, that it's a war within the principles of adharma because they're fueled by materialistic symptoms such as greed, envy, illusion, corruption. This is adharma because it has to deal with material consciousness within different modes such as the mode of passion and ignorance. So that's an example of adharma, and it's quite prevalent in the world today, sadly. So what does this dharma have to do with the human being? How is it related to us? We could first see dharma in many different ways, but to put it on a practical perspective, the dharma or the innate nature of sugar is what?
Sweet.
That's to be sweet. And the innate nature of salt is salty, savory. And we could go further into a different scope of life and see the life of animals. We can see that the dharma of a lion, physically speaking, within its anatomy, its claws, its fangs, its muscle structure, it's specifically engineered to tear apart another living entity. And that's its dharma. Somehow or other it's meant to create balance within the ecosystem, to kill other prey. We see the dharma of a bee, which is meant to hover around the nectar and in turn pollinating other flowers. The list could go on and on with birds, reptiles. And so what is the dharma of the human being? We can see, psychologically speaking, that the animal is sleeping, it's eating, it's reproducing, and it's defending. And similarly, the human being can do exactly the same thing. It could sleep, it could work very hard to eat, it could also work very hard to mate, and it could try to defend its property to the best of its abilities, weapons, technology. But does that make the human being a human being if he's just acting like the animal? So as we continue to dive deeper, we can begin to uncover what is the dharma of the human being. It must be beyond the physical body. Because if we look at the body of an athlete, at best, at its peak, the athlete in the professional level can be at its best, at max 12, 15 years, give or take. And that's just a lifespan of like 36 years. That human being still has maybe like 40 years of life left. So there's something more, there's something more meaningful to the human form of life. And so it is said that the human form of life is considered to be a great jewel within the millions of life forms, not only on Earth, but across the whole universe. It's a body specifically engineered to inquire within, to ask deeper questions. Where am I going? Why are we here? We have a higher intelligence, and we could see that intelligence in the material sense through the wonders that we've created in the modern world. We created a technological revolution, skyscrapers, unbelievable architecture, beautiful works of art, musical masterpieces. Just the list could go on and on and on. Amazing technology to transport. You could connect with somebody from the other side of the world in an instant. And so in the modern day, we utilize our human intelligence for all these things. But have we missed the bigger picture? The dharma that allows us to connect deeper, to inquire about why we're here, where we're going. Because the human form of life it's like a flash. It feels like just yesterday I was 20 years old, partying, smoking, drinking, just thinking that I was having a good time, stuck in the bathroom, puking my guts out. And now, 6 years later, I'm over here sitting down speaking to a bunch of young people about Dharma, transcendence, consciousness. So just like that, we go through so many different experiences, and the ball doesn't stop rolling, it just keeps going and going. And so we should look at the dynamics of the human life. It's said that the human body's engineered for sacrifice to attain higher states of consciousness. Because we can't attain much pleasure with the human body without getting sick. It's just so limited. And we could begin to ask ourselves, like, how do, alright, you're speaking about Dharma, you're speaking about these topics of transcendence that the human being can tap into, this philosophy that the human being can easily connect to and live their life, but how to actually go about it. And I can honestly say that it starts with community. It starts with a strong community, because there's so many different distractions. We could be here at Mantra House now really feeling the energy, feeling connected to the vibes, but we could easily go home, pop open Instagram, hit the explore page, and go into like a 2-hour social media trance just like that, and just waste time like anything. And it's a strong distraction. We're very latched onto it. It takes a lot of mental discipline. And the school system creates a whole system of education that doesn't really allow the human being to inquire about why are we here on the spiritual level. It is said that the school system, especially elementary school, middle school, and high school, is engineered to make human beings become workers. And so there's a great distraction in life. And so community is a very powerful thing. That's why we've, to the best of our abilities, we're trying to engineer self-discovery centers, wake-up centers, which we call Mantra House, where we can collectively come together, discuss spiritual subject matters that we don't like just speculate on these things. We can collectively analyze and study ancient wisdom, and in turn we could begin to uncover the Dharma that lies within us. And it's not something mundane, something boring where you just meditate all day and you forget about the world. It's actually about utilizing everything, your own talents, your skills, your abilities, and utilizing that to uncover Dharma, which is a very beautiful process. Just now we see musical instruments, microphones, technology that really allows us to come together and utilize it for a higher purpose. And so here at Mantra House, this is just the beginning. For 3 years we've been establishing these events, and in the future we hope to create a system, a center where people can come and perform experiments like a Bhakti lab, experiments of self-discovery through mantra meditation, sound meditation, wisdom, knowledge, creativity. And so that's just the beginning. And with Dharma, we can go into deeper stages of knowledge, different stages of realization that go beyond the realm of matter, beyond the realm of the universe, such as realization of Brahman, the conception of oneness between all life. Then as we go deeper to a deeper state of realization, we can see Paramatma realization, which is seeing the divine within, and ultimately coming to the stage of Bhagavan realization. That's realization of the Supreme Being. And so it's very easy, if the human being wants, it's very easy to come across knowledge. Very easy. It's a simple path, but there's a lot of distractions. And ultimately we're all looking for pleasure. And what's the greatest pleasure that we see in the world? Everybody's looking to love and be loved. And so if we utilize our tendency to inquire deeper, even through just our own day-to-day experience, we can begin to see what is the source of love? Where is love coming from? And this is where the doors of bhakti open up, which is the yoga of connection to a supreme love. And this is what Mantra House is trying to do, little by little. Some days we're very creative. Some days we have presentations that are very funny, that the whole crowd is cracking up. We have presentations that are very emotional, where people are putting their heart out there and really sharing their stories with everyone. On some days like today, it's like a very boring one, very stoic. And so it's a whole melting pot where we all come together. On this next phase, of Mantra House, we transition over to mantra musical meditation, where it really allows our consciousness to melodiously connect to mantra sound frequency. And that's practicing Dharma. Because as we dive deeper into the meaning of mantra and its relationship to the human consciousness, and actually not only just human, through the whole of consciousness, we can see a very beautiful synchronistic connection. Because we all want to vibe out, we all want good vibes. So we listen to music constantly, or we associate with people that really like make us laugh, that make us feel good. And so this is what mantra meditation is all about, like connecting to that deeper pleasure beyond the physical needs. And so at this point we could open the floor for one or two questions, so that we can transition over to the next phase. Yeah.
So you said you were going to share 2 stories.
Yeah.
What was the second one?
The second one where I was about to blow up the house.
Oh, that was a separate story.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had this other story that just came to mind. I don't know why. But when I was 15, I thought that my Dharma was just to hang out with my girlfriend, to just seek pleasure with my girlfriend. And so one day, it's an evil story. But one day it was a Saturday evening. My girlfriend at the time, not anymore, hell no. She used to live like a block away from me in the city of Inglewood. And so I had made this whole plan that I was going to sneak out of my parents' house like at midnight and just go visit her. And so I had this whole strategic plan, and it felt right. It felt like this is what I'm supposed to do. And I had this whole plan where as soon as my parents would go to sleep, I was just going to go to the front door. I was going to lift the door handle cautiously and lift up the door so it wouldn't make a noise. Then I was going to gently close it, and then just pretty much not use a skateboard because that's loud. I was just going to burn me out. But just like walk rapidly to her house. And it was like midnight. I was like 15. There's a curfew, especially in the hood in Inglewood. As soon as the cop would see you, you're a youngster, you were going to get pulled over. So anyways, I was walking down, and something inside of me told me to just make a quick ride in the alleyway. I don't know what it was. And so I immediately just like make a quick ride, and I hide, and just, a cop car just passes by. And I was like, damn. I felt like a sign that maybe I shouldn't do it. At this point I knew that it wasn't my Dharma. It felt like I was just pursuing the whims of my senses. But anyways, I went forward and I went to her house. It's a super long story, maybe I shouldn't tell it. Anyways, so I hide in the back of like the shelf, and the mom actually comes in front of me and just passes like right by me, and I'm like at this point on my knees like praying, like, please don't. And so she passes by, she opens the door, and she walks outside to see, because she heard some noise. And so she walks outside, and then she immediately just closes the door and just goes back to her room. And I'm just there like frozen in time. And so, point of the story, I go inside and I just get to hang out with my girlfriend, but then I have to, right at 4 a.m., I have to make my way back home. And so I'm making my way back home, sun's about to rise. And as soon as I'm about to open the door, I see my dad sleeping in the living room. And it was crazy because what I had to do is that I had to open the window slightly, and I had to cautiously step in, extremely silent, and just put one foot in, the other foot in, and then just stand still for like 1 minute interval after every move, just to be safe. To the point that I was just standing behind the curtain, just frozen, and then that's when I felt like, okay, I can go. And I didn't get caught. And my mom's probably watching this right now. So we see that nature changes as we get older. But with ancient wisdom, with anchored wisdom, we can innately dive deeper and deeper into ever-ending knowledge of self. And it's very relishable. There's no end to it. You could read one page and then just get stuck on it and have a hour-long conversation. And there'll be many distractions. Many people would leave for some time because they feel like it's very hard, but if you really anchored in spiritual wisdom and Dharma, and it's a beautiful journey. It's a journey of self-discovery. And so I'll just end it right there on that note. And yeah.
I just want to add a comment.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, one thing I see is the big benefit coming to Mantra House is mind control. As you said, mind is our real enemy. It's the biggest blocker. Oh, don't go to Mantra House. Just it tells thousands reasons. Don't go to Mantra House. Don't do exercise. Just chill out. Just hang out on internet. Those type of thing. It's like always. It's lazy and it tells thousand reasons to not to do the good things. Because it likes instant pleasure, whereas Mantra House is like delayed gratification. This is a long-term benefit. No, I don't care about long-term benefit. I need instant pleasure. That is the nature of mind. It always, the benefit is overall is the mind control. You can see your mind, and more you do meditation, you can see what the mind, and you say stay away from me, and we identify with mind. Okay, boss, I'll do it. That type of attitude. So we can say, at least in long run, it's a big battle because we've been having that vasanas. They call it as karma vasanas, the tendencies. So it is very difficult to. It's a hard work. It's a big battle, but coming to Mantra House is the right thing to do.
Exactly. Thank you for sharing that. It's like building spiritual muscles. Does anybody here have a spiritual six-pack? Two-pack. Yeah, so it's about building your spiritual strength, because Damo's definitely right. There's times where, a lot of the times where rather than waking up early, I want to just delay and just sleep a little longer and not really wake up early and do my meditation. So it takes a lot of strength. So we're very thankful that you guys really make an effort to be here. It's a super house party at times. Last week it was roaring. I think everybody's hungover. That's why they couldn't be here. But tonight it's a pizza party, so they missed out. And so we move on. We move on to the next phase, which is mantra meditation with Roman, who's a very talented individual. And without further ado, we got Roman in the house. Thank you.